नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यभागवतसेवे भागवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome to this discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. We have discussed the first four chapters of Canto 1. So now we are into the fifth chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1. So what did we see till now? Just an overview. The first chapter, there were six questions asked by sages of Naimisharanya to Suta Goswami, and then Suta Goswami is answering those six questions. So answers to those six questions are given in chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 4. So the answer is principally related with, can be explained in following slides. Let's go to the slide. So there are six questions asked. What is the absolute and ultimate good for people in general? It is bhakti. Explain the essence of process. This is process of devotional service. Why did Lord appear in the womb of Devaki? It is to spread the glory of bhakti. Then there was a description of Purusha Avtaras. Then there was description of Leela Avtaras. And to whom did religious principle take shelter of Lord Krishna? It was the final question. So that answer to that question was Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Srimad Bhagavatam, in this concluding part of this question, Suta Goswami is explaining the parampara of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then Suta Goswami is in that parampara. That is what he's telling. And subsequent to that, in chapter number 4, there are some further questions asked by these sages. And those questions are: when, where, how, and on whose inspiration did Vyasadeva compile Srimad Bhagavatam? And then Parikshit Maharaj, question about Parikshit Maharaj is for activities and renunciation, because it becomes the part of the parampara, which in his concluding part of the fourth chapter, Sutta Goswami introduced. Then Sukadev Goswami is, there's one more question on Sukadev Goswami. So this entirely forms the rest of first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, in this chapter 4, we see that Vyasadeva is trying to balance his mind. So despite the efforts of Vyasadeva to present the scriptures, his heart was incomplete. So Narada comes there and clears Vyasa's despondency. So he comes there. So that is the end of chapter 4. Now in chapter 5, you will see that Vyasadeva is coming, Vyasadeva's despondency is cleared by Narada. Narada Muni emphasizes that there is no major focus on Krishna and bhakti process. This needs to be sufficiently described. Narada emphasizes this further by quoting his own life history, how process of bhakti and Supreme Personality of God Krishna brought transformation in. Therefore, Vyasa has to describe the spotless transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna to mitigate the sufferings of common people and satisfy deeper hankerings of the learner. So it is both. So this is the main thing. So there are four major portions of this chapter. One is Narada inquires and Vyasa is responding to it. And then Shloka 8 to 22, importance of Krishna's pastimes. So Narada Muni is explaining importance of Krishna's pastimes. Then Narada Muni is narrating his past life. And then Narada advises Vyasadeva what he has to do next. So Narada inquires Vyasa. There are four shlokas here. Then there is a request from Vyasadeva. Then there is importance of time. So there are specific details of the shloka. So let us get into the shloka now. Just a moment. Sutta uvacha atattam shukam asina upasinam vachravahara devarishi rishim veena pani smayan eva veena pani. So here, Sutta Goswami says the ones that are Nada, comfortably seated and apparently standing that Rishi amongst the Brahmanas, Veda Vyasa. So Veena Pani. Veena Pani is the one who carries Veena in his hand. This is referring to Narada. Okay, so the Narada is giving Narada is given a seat, and Narada means starts talking. Narada Uvacha Parashraya Mahabhaga Bhavata Kachit Atmana Paritushyati Sharira Atma Manasa Eva. So what does this mean? Addressing Vyasadeva as the son of Parashara Muni, Narada inquires, are you satisfied by identifying with the body or mind as objects of self-realization? So there's a deeper meaning here. So Narada asks for despondency of Vyasadeva. And it looks like the despondency seems to be identifying Vyasadeva with his mind and body. So Narada is taking a reference to Vyasadev's parentage here. This satisfaction is not a sign of a self-realized soul, and Parvati is a strong deity who is known for his scholarly attributes. So, coming from Parashara Muni's lineage, this despondency is not okay for Vyasadeva. That is what Narada is trying to tell you. Now, next question, next shloka. Jignasitam sampannam api te mahad adbhutam kritavan bharatam yastvam sarvartha paribramhitam. So, what does it mean? Your enquiries were full and your studies were all well fulfilled. Let's know that you have prepared a great, wonderful work. Mahad Adbhuta, great and wonderful work. Bharata, Mahabharata, which is full of all kinds of Vedic sequences elaborately explained. So Vyasadeva compiled, um, Vyasadeva is a real self-realized story. Otherwise, it is not possible for Vedavyas to write Srimad Bhagavatam. So, why is then despondency? So, despondency of Vyasadeva seems to be a little bit of anachronic because he has compiled Srimad Mahabharata. So, this despondency does not suit him. Then 1.5.4 Jignasitam Aditam Cha Brahma Yatta Sanatanam Tatapi Sochasi Atmanam Akritartha Eva Prabho. You have fully delineated the subject of impersonal Brahman as well as knowledge derived therefrom. Why should you be despondent in spite of all this? Thinking that you are undone, my dear Prabhu. Okay, so the Vyasadeva has compiled Vedanta Sutra or Brahma Sutra, and Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So Vedanta Sutra means it is end of Vedanta, but written in a very, very simple form. So this is based on a thorough inquiry. Jignasita, Adhika. Jignasita means deliberated fully well. Adhika means knowledge obtained. So by by realization. So there is no need of any despondency. A person of such a high caliber cannot have this type of despondency. That is what Narada Muni is bringing out here. Then shloka number 5. Astyeva me sarvam idam tvektam तथापि नात्म परितुष्यते मे तन्मूलमव्यक्तम् अगाधबोधं प्रच्चामहे त्वात्मभवात्मभूतम्. Shri Vyasadeva said, all you have said about me is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I am not pacified. I therefore question you about the root cause of my dissatisfaction. For you are a man of unlimited knowledge, due to your being the offspring of one Brahma, who is self-born, without mundane father and mother. Agada Bodha, man of unlimited knowledge. So Vyasa replies to Narada, that he is right, that Narada is right. And thus ask Narada to support in his problem of dissatisfaction and ask, what is the root cause for this? He uses the word Agada Bodha. Agada Bodha means man of unlimited knowledge. The meaning is that does not know, or Narada knows how to apply different situations of Krishna consciousness, or different situations, Krishna consciousness application in different situations. That Narada is an expert. So whenever we have a doubt and we are not able to balance ourselves, we need to approach authority. When we do not know what to do, we should know what to do, and that is approach the spiritual master. So Narada Muni is the spiritual master here. Let's go to sixth shloka. Sarai Bhavangeda Samasta Guhyam Upasito Yat Purusha Puranaha Paravaresho Manasaiva Vishwam Shajati Avati Ati Gune Asangata. Vyasa gives one more description of Narada. Veda Samasta Guhyam. Veda Samasta Guhyam. Know all inclusive confidential parts of Vedas. This is because Narada worshipped Lord Upasito Yat Purusha Puranaha. He worships Purusha Purana. Paravaresha Purana, controller of both material and para avara. Ishara, the control of material and spiritual worlds. Gunai Asangaha, and he is unattached to modes. So Narada knows all the secret, who is connected to Brahma and who is devotee of Super Soul, that is Supreme Personality of God. He knows everything because he is constantly praying to Purusha Puranaha, the oldest of the person. This is unpretentious worship of the Supreme Personality of God. So this puts the Narada in a definitely a good position. This slokas qualify Narada's supreme position so that and therefore confirm that he can clarify Vyasadeva's doubt. So let's go to so Vyasadeva has compiled Vedanta Sutra, he has compiled Mahabharata. So he's the and he is son of Parashuramuni. So by birth, by his activities, he has shown that he is extremely talented guy. He is very well is a realized soul. So that is why, but he is there. But Vedavyas is now glorifying Narada Muni and he is justifying his position, saying that I am now not able to balance my mind. I am despondent. Please help me come out of this despondency. So let us go to sloka number 7. Tvam पर्यतन अर्क एव त्रिलोकीम् अन्तश्चरो वायु इवात्म साक्षी परावरे ब्रह्मि धर्मतो व्रतैः स्नतस्य मेन्युवम् अलं विचक्ष्वा. Like the sun, your goodness can travel everywhere in the three worlds. And like hair, you can penetrate the internal region of everyone. As such, you are as good as all pervasive super soul. Please, therefore, find out the deficiency in me, despite my being absorbed in transcendence and the disciplinary regulations. And so, what does this mean? So Narada has to support Vyasa in solving this problem of Vyasadeva. Sun can travel everywhere. Narada can also travel everywhere. Same way, Vayu penetrates everywhere. So and Narada Muni is like air. Also, he is like super soul. He is pervasive. So Vyasadeva is now telling you can go everywhere, you can penetrate everywhere, you can pervade everywhere. Please diagnose the deficiency since you can go anywhere, all the bodies, all the souls. Please solve the problem of my discordancy. So when we go in front of Guru, we must show obedience beyond logic. Here the description of Vyasa about spiritual master is like that. So similar examples is there in eighth canto, where there is a Samudra Mantha. At one stage, demigods are going to finish the entire demons. At that time, Brahma instructs Narada to tell to demigods stop fighting. So they immediately do that. Kalanini and Mali are killed by Lord himself. Demigods did not argue with Narada. So demigods obediently agreed to the higher authority. So Narada told demigods that son of Kayaru, for he would be the great devotee in future. Kaya, son of Kayaru is Prahlad Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj will be a great devotee in future, and he will help demigods fight demons. Thus, as soon as Narada Muni asked them to stop fighting, demigods stopped fighting. Thus, this is how we should agree to the authority. So therefore, Narada is now going to instruct Vyasadeva, and Narada, in an authority position as a spiritual master of Vyasadeva, is going to give him some strong instructions which he will follow. And hence Srimad Bhagavatam comes. Now let us go to shloka number 8. Just a recheck. Where are we now? So we now have um, gone through shloka number 1 to 7, where there are enquiries from Narada and Vyasadeva is responding. So Narada, now Vyasadeva concludes it by asking his spiritual master Narada Devi to help him come out of the difficulties. So now Vyasadeva is going to Narada Muni is going to point out two important things. In Shloka 8, he is going to point out defect number 1, which is insufficient glorification of Krishna. And Shloka number 9, there will be one more defect which Narada Muni will be pointing out, which is overemphasis on Purusha avatars. And then text Shloka number 10 and 11 will be focusing on categories of literatures, material literature and transcendental literature. So let us go through this one by one, and then so between 8 to 22, the importance of pastimes of Krishna's pastimes are established. So let us go back to the shloka set, shloka number 8. Pava Pavatanita यशो भगवतो अमलम् येनैवासौ न तुष्येत मन्येत दर्शनम् किलम्. Sri Narada said, you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of personality of God. That philosophy, which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord, is considered worthless. So insufficient glorification of Lord is a problem. Lord expands himself as jivas to accept loving service from them. This will satisfy the Lord and the jivatma. So here Vyasadeva has to glorify Lord in the scriptures. Thus, the reading of everything other than what is written by Vyasadeva is just a waste of time. The Narada means that Vedanta Sutra is not fully glorifying the Lord. Therefore, he instructs Vyasadeva that he should write something which is directly, repeatedly, and fully glorifying the Lord. If Vyasadeva's description of Lord in Vedanta Sutra is not complete, and it is sufficient glorification of the Lord is not there, then it is important that Vyasadeva has to bring this. There must be full description of Lord. There must be sufficient glorification of Lord. So this is important. This is the must for any scripture. So when Vyasadeva is going to compose, he has to ensure this is available. So this is the way Narada Muni is diagnosing. So the living entity is a product from Lord for the purpose of serving the Lord. This is exchange of service between Lord and his devotee. If we do not serve Lord, then Lord is dissatisfied. Hence, we become dissatisfied. Thus, the reinstatation of the constitutional position is very important. This has to be described by Vyasadeva going forward because the living entity being part and parcel of Krishna should know how he can go back to Krishna. This point of rendering service to the Supreme Lord does not come out in the scriptures which Vyasadeva has compiled till date. So the emphasis on glorification of transcendental qualities of the Lord and engaging in the service of the Lord is the most important idea that needs to be presented. Here, we see the Srila Prabhupada in this purport. Srila Prabhupada is asking the rhetorical question, which means if Vyas himself is not satisfied, how the readers of the other scriptures will be satisfied. Let's see the compiler of Vedanta Darshana himself, yet he is troubled, although he is an author. So what sort of transcendental bliss can be derived by readers and literate listeners of Vedanta, which is not explained directly by Vyasadeva, the author? So there is no use of reading any of the scriptures other than reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Now going to the sloka number 9. Yata dharma dayashchata muni varni anukirtitaha na tata vasudevasya mahimma it anuvarnitaha. So Vyasa saying, as a great sage, Vyasa, you have very broadly described the four principles beginning with religious performance. You have not described the glories of Supreme Personality of God. So Vyasa can always justify that he has described Lord in some of the Puranas like Padma Purana, Matsya Purana, etc. However, Narada clarifies this by saying the overemphasis is on Purusharthas. Thus, the people, instead of following Bhakti, follow Purusharthas, which according to Srimad Bhagavatam is Shrama Evahi Keva. The Nagam is telling Vyasa that you have described these glories as a means of moksha. The purpose of glorification of Lord is to transcend the four Purushartha, which is Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Veda Vyasa has described the four Purusharthas repeatedly. He has not described the Lord's glories or his devotional service. He has not described Bhakti as superior to Moksha. Then Vyasa will tell that I have done that in Padma Purana. Then that is why Narada Muni is telling that you have not done it repeatedly. If a conclusion is not repeated sufficiently, then people may miss it. This means in some Ashtotra, he has said about Krishna and Krishna. In some Ashtotra, in some Purana, Veda Vyas has talked about Krishna and Krishna's bhakti. But everywhere else he has described the four Purusharthas. So so much, so he has described the Purusharthas so much that people may miss Bhakti and Krishna. Narada says that make Krishna Krishna Katha, Bhakti as hero, not as character in description of scriptures. Insufficient glorification of Lord and too much description of the four Purusharthas is the reason for despondency of Veda Vyasa. So that is why we see that Prabhupada, when he is writing purports of Bhagavad Gita, the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Praja. So this point, Prabhupada brings out in every purport. If the purport might be talking about Karma Yoga or Karma Kanda, the shloka may be pointing towards Karma Kanda or Karma Yoga. But Prabhupada will ensure that we understand this from the point of view of surrender to Krishna. So this because anybody who reads one page of Srila Prabhupada's books, one point should be very clear, which is surrender to Krishna. So, like Srila Prabhupada, Vedavyas also brought out Srimad Bhagavatam, in which every page talks about Krishna, Krishna's devotees' glories, and and his various pastimes. So, going to shloka number 10. Nayadvachaschitrapadam mareryasho jagat pavitram praganita karvicha. Tadvaya samtirtamushanti manasa nayatra hamsa niramantu shikshaya. You have to read this along with shloka number 11. Let's go to 11. तद्वा विसर्गो जनतागविप्लवो यस्मिन् प्रतिश्लोकमुपद्यपद्यपि नामान्यनन्तश्च यशोऽङ्कितान्यत् शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति साधवः. So now this is a very beautiful verse. So there are two categories of literature. One literature is approved by Vaishnava and it is a spiritual literature. Other literature is not approved or rejected by the Vaishnava, and this is materialistic. Shloka number 10 talks about materialistic. So what is it? Nayad Vachaschitra Padam Arevesho. Anything that is not describing Arevesho, glories of a Lord, which are not describing the glories of a Lord, glories of Lord Krishna. This is then what? How is it? Jagat Pavitam Praganita Karyachit. So that which Jagat Pavitram, sanctified, described hardly, that Vayasam Tirtha. So in which it is not described sufficiently, then it is like place of pilgrimage for crows. So such places are considered as the place of pilgrimage for sins. All perfect persons or inhabitants of transcendental abode. Nayatra Hamsa Niram. Hamsa means somebody, they are all perfect beings. Niramantisisha, they reside in transcendental abode. They do not take any pleasure in this type of literature. So we see that there's no decoration of Krishna by sufficiently glorifying him in the literature, then it is not good enough. So this book, this materialistic philosophy is like place of pilgrimage for crows. Crows eat anything and everything. Because the literature that describe anything other than Krishna is like stool, which a pig eats. The knowledge that we gain from this is like decoration of the dead body. The pleasure we derive from this is like pleasure of a prostitute hunter, according to Sridhar songs. But devotees are like Hamsa, swans. Hamsa means swan. They reject materialistic, they reject materialistic philosophies. So now there is very interesting shloka in 10th canto. Let me just look for that. 10th canto, 38 shloka, 38 chapter, 12th shloka. Yes, yeah, Kilamya Abhi Sumangale वाचो विमिश्रगुणकर्मण्य जन्मभिः प्राणन्ति सुबन्ति पुनन्ति वै जगत् यास्तद्विरक्त सर्वशोभन mataha. All sins are destroyed, and all good fortune is created by Supreme Lord's qualities, activities, and appearance. Yasya Akila Eiva Avishu Mangale Vacho Vimishra Gunagarma Janmabi Guna Karma and Janmabi. And words that describe these three things animate, beautify, and purify the world. Prananti, Shumbanti, Punanti. Prananti, Shumbanti, Punanti. So, on the other hand, words bereft of his glories are like decorations of corpse. So, all sins are destroyed completely when we talk about Supreme Personality. And anything other than this is like decoration of corpse. So, this is similar to the word which is told in 1.5. It is like place of pilgrimage for those. So, literature is like place of pilgrimage for those. This, however, does not mean that every word. So now, one person, some people can ask question: does every word in Srimad Bhagavatam talk about Krishna? So it does not mean that every word, every sentence is about Krishna. However, the conclusion of the story is Krishna. Story of Yayati in Canto number 9. Conclusion that Yayati is devotee of Krishna and he is as surrendered to Krishna. He is Krishna consciousness. Same way, Ajamila. Uh, chapter number 9, Canto 9 is a Ishanukata, story of Krishna and his devotees. Kapideva is also talking about jnana, karma, but finally it concludes that bhakti is important. The devotees of Krishna are different beautiful birds. So it is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita in a very nice way. Let us see that. कृष्णोत्कीर्तन गान नर्तन कला पतावजनि भारत पराजिता सद्भक्तावली अंश चकार मधुपशेनि विहारस्पदम कर्णानंदी काल दवने वहतु में जीव मरु परांगने श्री चैतन्य दयानिधे तव लसल लीला सुध स्वार्दुनि. So what does it mean? Oh, merciful Lord Chaitanya, may the Nectarian Ganges water of your transcendental activities flow on the surface of my desert-like tongue. So our tongue is dried. It is dried. But when we talk about glories of Lord Chaitanya, then there is Ganges water is flowing out. On the, beautifying these waters are the lotus flowers of singing, dancing, and loud chanting of Krishna's holy names. So the lotus flowers are actually singing and dancing and loudly chanting Krishna's holy names, which are pleasure abodes of unalloyed devotees. These devotees are compared to swans, ducks, and bees. The rivers flowing produces a melodious sound that gladdens their ears. So, so that is a very nice Prabhupada is giving a very good explanation here. But the point here is that if they were to use their right tongues to chant the holy name of Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, as exemplified by Lord Chaitanya, they would taste the sweet nectar and enjoy. So the point here is that Veda Vyas has not glorified in the previous literatures, whenever he has compiled, whatever he has compiled, he has not described the qualities of Krishna to the fullest extent. Therefore, our tongues are not getting the nectar of Krishna Leela. And that is why there is a despondency. So Krishna is not glorified sufficiently, and there is unnecessary importance given to Purusharthas. So these are all some nice shlokas which we can always ruminate to understand Chaitanya Leela, Krishna Leela in a much better way. Now let us go to the next shloka, shloka number 11. So this one also we have seen. So what does it mean? On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a different creation full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in impious lives of world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. This is talking about transcendental literature. These literatures glorify God and bring revolution in the lives of misdirected civilization. In that way, we see English is a very, very poor language. Sanskrit is very cultured and structured language. There are different aesthetics and techniques in the language. Sanskrit has different aesthetics and techniques, which makes it far superior. For example, wife can be referred with different words like stri, patni, ardangini, etc. In English, there is no synonym for this. Each word in Sanskrit has a specific description and definition. Ardangini means man requires women for fulfillment of goals of Dharma in his life. She is Sahayogini, who cooperates with husband in all dharmic activities. She is Sahakarmini, which means that her karma is shared by husband. This type of definition is not possible in English. However, Srila Prabhupada has made use of such poor language as English to explain Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada mentions this in the purport to this verse. So you can see that because India was failed in her duty by neglecting them, there is so much quarrel and trouble. We are confident that if this transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by leading men of the world, certainly there will be change of heart and naturally people in general will follow that. So we know that our honest attempt, Krishna, Prabhupada is talking about is attempt. The person is greater conveying transcendental message of for reviving God conscious of people in general and restructuring the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail, and there will be so many literary discrepancies despite our honest attempt to present it in a proper way. But we are sure that with all our efforts in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of society will still accept this due to its being honest attempt to glorify the Almighty Lord. So it can be also taken that Narada has predicted that in future Srimad Bhagavatam will be available in an imperfect form. Therefore, he is asking Vyasadeva to make Srimad Bhagavatam. So here, this verse probably is signifying about Srila Prabhupada's internal English translation of Srimad Bhagavatam, which will be, which is not fully formed, but still it brings revolution to impious lives. So what is impious life? Kali Yuga people in general have poor fund of knowledge. They are misdirected civilization. Srimad Bhagavatam can bring revolution in the lives of these people. This means glorification of Krishna will bring revolution in the lives of misdirected civilization. So, yasmin prati shlokam abadya davati, irregularly composed. That means every shloka, even if it is improperly composed, like chandas, alliteration, rhyming, etc., because they are glorifying Krishna, they will bring transformation in the lives of people. These shlokas are glorifying the unlimited pastimes, names, forms of unlimited Lord. The sadhus, the Vaishnavas here then speak them and absorb them. They make a point to imbibe and internalize these principles in their life. This we can see in the prayers of Queen Kunti. Actually, if you see, it is very nice. शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति अविक्नशः स्मरन्ति नन्दन्ति तवैहितं जना तयैव पश्यन्ति चिरेण कामकं भवप्रवाहो परमं पदाम्बुजम्. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so certainly will see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. This is very beautiful. So this is very beautiful shloka which we should understand. So we see that if we describe what happens, we can stop the repetition of birth and death. So Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll find many shlokas which have similar thing. Now coming back to this shloka 11, we understand that this the purport for this shloka was composed by Srila Prabhupada even before he went to even before he founded ISKCON. And you can see that there is a brief description of China and India. And Srila Prabhupada is saying that they were good partners for a long time. But now, because of Kali Yuga's influence, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that because of Kali Yuga's influence, China and India are fighting. Srila Prabhupada suggests that if we distribute Srila Prabhupada, the quarreling nature of Kali will come down. So we need to popularize distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada also mentions that obscene literature, movies are to be condemned or censored in the materialistic society. The reason is that this type of media brings out bad dog in the people. The materialistic society by which one abandons this type of literature. So this thus it becomes very important in the spiritual cycle. So bad dog means people think about women in a very bad way and then they harass the women. So this harassment of women is not accepted even the materialistic society. Therefore, in spiritual society, we need not have to talk about all this. So our idea is that we should spread Srimad Bhagavatam and we should come out of the wrong media which makes a person much more demoniac. Okay, now let us go to the next section. The next section, actually, the purport of this entire these two slokas, sloka number 10 and 11, are very beautiful. I suggest please go through, no, please read through it. It is very So, there was a short break because of some disconnection. And continuing with shloka number 12. So bhakti is most valuable from shloka number 12 to shloka number 16. There is a focus on bhakti being most valuable. So knowledge, it is a knowledge of self-realization. What is the qualification? Can Vyasa present bhakti? There is an insubstantial description of bhakti in previous literatures. And then what is this enjoying tendency? How Vyasa can explain to people in general. So this is the main focus of sloka number 12 to 16. Let us go to sloka number 12. नैष्कर्म्यमप्यच्युतभाववर्जितं न शोभते ज्ञानमलं निरञ्जनम् कुतः पुनः शश्वतभद्रमीश्वरे न चार्थं कर्म यदप्यकारणम्. Knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of conception of infallible Lord. Achyuta Bhava Varjita is devoid of Achyuta Bhava. Achyuta is Lord, infallible Lord. What then is the use of fruitive activities which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient by nature, if they are not utilized for devotional service of the Lord? Naiskar self-realization, being freed from reactions of fruitive work. This concept is very dry if there is no supreme personality of God at Naishkarmyam appears self-realization. So, what does this mean? Knowledge of self-realization is complete only when there is conception of supreme personality of God. The subject here is to tell that the concept of impersonal Brahman is not complete. The other point emphasized here is the fruitive activities and the speculative process, which are painful right from the beginning. So, Naishkarmya. And then, um, Naishkarmya Jnanam, transcendental knowledge, Niranjana, free from designation, Kuta. So, so it is rejected. Both speculative knowledge as well as the fruitive activities are um, rejected right from the beginning. So we see that same is in Bhagavad Gita as well, where Arjuna is reluctant to fight in the beginning. When Krishna says to Arjuna, "Fight for me," then no, Arjuna is not satisfied. So for speculative knowledge, Arjuna is telling, Arjuna tells that Chanchalami Mana Krishna 6.34. Chanchala means flickering, Mana Krishna. So 6.34, let us go to the shloka 6.34. Chanchalami Mana Krishna Pravati Balavadridam Tashyam Nigram Mani Vayu Revsal. Mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. To subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling wind. So, Mana Krishna, Pramati, restless, Balavat, turbulent, strong, and obstinate, Dridam. So, when such a kind of, when mind is like this, so what do you have to do? Mind is flickering at a very high speed. It carries tons of load and it cannot obey words. That is what Arjuna is telling. But Arjuna can stop powerful wind weapon by his skills in archery and martial arts, but he cannot control his mind. The sixth chapter, Dhyana Yoga, concludes Yoginam Api Sarvesham. Let us go to the shloka. Saddhaval Lavate Jnana, Yoginam Api Sarvesham, Madgate Antaratma, Shraddhaval Bhajate Yoma, Same Yuktatmano Mata. Faithful always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is most intimately united with me in yoga and is highest of all. That is my opinion. So Dhyana Yoga, this entire chapter concludes this way that everything it should be transcendental loving service of the Lord. The entire work is of no use if it is not describing the glories of Supreme Lord. So anything which is not, which is Achyuta Bhava Varjita, then even if it is jnana, it is of no use, for it cannot give more than moksha. So Naiskammya will not offer lifelong lasting results if the fruits are not offered to Supreme Lord Krishna. So Naiskammya or Nishkama Karma stage is just before the jnana stage. So mere detachment from fruit is not sufficient, but surrendering the fruits to Lord is very important. Else there is no purification of the heart. So this is for the Naiskammya. What about the fruity work where we do activities only for fruits, which is prone to full of mistakes. So they are full of mistakes and faults. So it is called as abhadram. So it is abhadram, it is uncongenial. This may give no result or paltry result or opposite result. Even if you can get some result, it will be, it will not give a long lasting satisfaction. So nice karma means activities which are like without attachment to the fruity work. But the fruity work, which is abhadram, it is abhadram, it is not long-lasting, and it may probably be full of faults and mistake. The Nishkam Karma Yoga is to attain to the stage of Jnana Yoga, to practice Jnana Yoga to attain liberation, or practice Ashtanga Yoga to attain Paramatma realization. So this is how the Nishkam Karma Yoga progresses. So the practice of Sakama Karma Yoga to travel to heavenly abode, etc. The active ingredient in all this is bhakti, and it is not shobhate. It is not shobhate. Jnana mala niranjara. So where is jnana? Na shobhate does not look well when we do bhakti to progress from Nishkama Karma Yoga to Jnana Yoga to attain liberation or perform Ashtanga Yoga to attain Paramatma realization. So this is not good. It is not, doesn't look well. That is what it means. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in this verse is telling that just destroying ignorance is not enough. We need to go back home, back to God. If you're not able to go back home, back to God, then there is no use of that type of elimination of ignorance. So, fruity, no attachment to fruity work without conception of law and jnanam, use of transcendental knowledge to progress in from Naishkam Karma Yoga to Jnana Yoga or to attain liberation or practice Ashtanga Yoga to get Paramatma realization is not looking good. It's not looking good. So it is only destroying, it is only resulting in more and more ignorance. So the main idea is that we should break this ignorance and focus only on service to Supreme Personality of God so that we can go back home, back to God. Then there is there is there's a need to eliminate the ignorance. So the illusory energy of law brings ignorance into such heart immediately who are following this wrong method of Nishkam Karma Yoga, Sakam Karma Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. So we need to come out of it. And this is happening, they are under the influence of illusion because we are not attached to the lotus feet of Krishna. So that is the most important point here. So let us stop here. And I think shloka number 13 will have an interesting thing. Let's discuss this in our next session. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much for all your encouragement on chapter 30 chapter passing to Bayeja. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaः. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय जगत गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। कृष्ण